Hey folks, as many of you probably already know, I've been looking for a new flashlight for my EDC. I would just want to try out some different stuff. I've been carrying the Olight i3 EOS single AAA cell LED flashlight for some time, and I really do like this light. I think it's a tremendous value, and I will continue to carry this light off and on. But I kind of want to try out some new stuff. I guess I've been bit by the bug, by the flashlight bug, and it's just time to try out some new options. So this one is gonna take a back seat for a little while, and the light that I have here, which you can probably see what it is from the description, is not going to be the only one that I purchase. This is just my most recent one. I want to try several different sizes, several different styles, several different options, and then see, ultimately which one I'm really interested in the most. So I don't want to limit myself to any one particular style or brand. That was another thing. I wanted to try a different brand other than Olight. I almost went with another Olight and elected to go for something different. So as you can see here, this time around I am trying the Foursevens Quark Tactical QTLC. Now this was renamed, as a lot of you probably know. Foursevens has changed their logo. They've changed how they print their name, their brand name on items, and they've changed a lot of the model numbers or names for some of their items. So this box is a little bit different from the other box. This looks like it's kind of going for a heavily recycled, heavily reused cardboard material. Their older boxes were glossy and it seemed to be made of pretty thick stock. And just for those of you curious, this stuff's real flimsy. The box is real flimsy. It's got sort of a weird matte finish to the cardboard. And it's kind of got that vibe a lot of times when you see something and it's in that recycled cardboard and they kind of really want you to know it, that it looks like they're quote-unquote going green. That's what this one kind of looks like. So there's the front of the package, and then when you open it up you can see the light itself inside, and it is actually exposed. It's a little cut out in the plastic. And then there's a little rundown of all the different features and benefits according to Foursevens. And let's open this up and have a look at the light itself. It looks like our easiest ingress is going to be right here on the bottom. So I'll slice that there. See if we can make our way in. I don't like damaging the packaging, so I'm going to try not to tweak it too much. I don't mind bending the little cardboard flap a little, but I hate tearing it, so I'm trying to be somewhat gentle with it. Hopefully not tweaking it too much. No, that seems okay. It's opening easy enough. And wow, you get quite a few goodies in there. If you've seen my older Olight flashlight review or new purchase video, then you know that I am not the world's foremost authority on flashlights. Actually, far from it. I don't really know too much beyond, just the little bit of information I've gleaned online when doing a little bit of research to make my own purchases. It's a cool hobby. It's not something that at this point in time really interests me tremendously. I don't really know a lot of the lingo. I'm just now starting to figure out a lot of stuff, and so forgive me if I don't know a lot of the technical terms. I just want, a good light that works well. So I kind of approach this as, any guy off the street going out and buying a flashlight, rather than somebody that immerses themselves deeply in the culture and the community of flashlights. But who knows what the future may bring. So we've got an operation manual or instruction manual here, and then in this little plastic container, it's sort of a clamshell design. See, that flips right up. And we have the light itself. Nice little sheath. And always when I'm making a video, some emergency vehicle decides to go by. Sounds like an ambulance, and I hope everyone's okay. Let's see, nice little lanyard. It's got a couple little cord locks or toggles along the length of it, and then it also has a little lobster clip with a split ring, which I imagine attaches to the end of the flashlight itself. I know there is a little lanyard loop or keyring loop on it. So probably not going to carry this. In fact, I'm planning on just carrying this light directly in my pocket. This is the little finger or thumb ring where I guess you put this on your finger and then you can kind of have the light in your hand so that your hands can be doing something else and still flashing light. That's a cool little thing. I don't know if I'll ever use it, but nice little addition. A couple spare O-rings for those seals on the light. And then of course 4Sevens is kind enough to provide us with a battery so that we can power it right away. And as you see there, this is a 4Sevens branded Q123-T lithium cell, 3 volts. And then we have the flashlight itself. And just my, right off the bat, just getting a feel for it, it has a really nice quality feel to it. It's got a decent thickness just at the edge there along the bezel, and I really do like it just right off the bat. One of the things I was concerned about when I was choosing a new light to carry was I wanted to get a tail clicky. I wanted a tail cap switch. Unlike my older Olight i3, this one just uses a twist design to turn on the bulb and to go through the 3 brightnesses. I like this. I think it's convenient. I think it definitely saves on space. And so one of my favorite things about this design is if you don't mind not having immediate access to the light, if you don't need instantaneous illumination, I think that this is a brilliant design, and I think that it's going to serve most people well. It certainly has me. I've used this light and I have no problem with turning it on and off. I simply wanted to try something a little different, and I liked the idea that this one was something that I could grab out of my pocket and instantly, call it into action. And it's a nice switch. It's got a very authoritative, click to it. I rather like that. And then if what I've seen online is correct, then this actually is in 3 different pieces. And so you actually have like the tail cap, and then the bezel at the front comes off. And let's go ahead and open the tail cap and have a look in there. There's the spring which makes contact for one end of the battery, and you can see where it inserts in the other end. So let's go ahead and insert the battery and give it a try. Let me bring in my knife. If I'm doing any of this kind of screwy, forgive me, but it's kind of tough doing some of this stuff through the viewfinder on the camera. I'm sure some of you are quite familiar with that burden. Of course, today's knife I'm using on this video being the orange Cutlery Shop exclusive Paramilitary 2, which I've been carrying off and on as part of my EDC rotation. So battery just goes in there, screw on the back. That couldn't be simpler, and that's very bright. I won't shine it at the camera. I'm sure you guys can appreciate that. And now I know that this thing, the head twists, and when I come back with a review, I'll explain it in depth. I know how this light works, but I've never actually held it in hand and tried it myself. But you can actually change the brightness with which it comes on. You can choose 2 different modes, and those are selected by turning the bezel at the front of the light. So you can see I'm going between 2 different brightnesses. I'm guessing this is max brightness, which is 205 lumens. I'm not 100% sure how they've shipped it by default, and then that being one of the lower brightnesses. I don't think that's the absolute lowest, as that actually looks rather bright for being the Moonlight Mode, which is I think 0.5 lumens, or it's something very, very low in intensity. But the way that this works is that it has 7 different lighting modes, and then once you program it, you have 2 different program settings, and then by turning the bezel, you can switch between those 2 settings as you've seen me do here, one being the maximum, and then the other one being a lower setting. I'm guessing. I'm not completely sure as how it ships from the factory. And then once it's in a particular setting, that's the only one that will ever come on when you click the back of the light. And that was another reason that I went with this model. A lot of lights, including my older Olight, as you use the light, you have to step through the different brightnesses every single time. So it starts off in low, then medium, then high. And then when I turn it off and I want to use it again, it's not going to remember those settings. It's going to go back to low. And when I want the highest setting, I've got to twist, the bezel a couple times to get there. Well, I kind of wanted a light where I could very quickly go, and I should say, because on this one I almost always will use the brightest setting, either the lowest or the brightest. I really don't have much need for the medium. And so that being said, I wasn't feeling too bad about how this has 2 pre-programmed modes. You can select 2 different intensities, and then that's pretty much it until you want to step through all the different functions again. And so in my eyes, that's all I need. I was probably going to have 1 low setting and 1 high, and then I can just remember which one is where depending on how the bezel is set. So I got a moment to kind of try it out and see how the programming works. It's actually pretty simple. I'll try and show you real quick here on camera. If I bungle it a little bit, forgive me, as I am still kind of getting used to it. So basically, you'll turn the light on in whatever mode you have, and again, you have 2 different settings. You have one programmed mode is when the bezel is tightened all the way, and then you have one when it's loosened. So in this case, let's loosen it, and I'll show you that it is actually in Moonlight Mode, which I think is 0.5 lumens. Forgive me if I'm not remembering the exact 0.2 lumens. I'm reading from the manual here. I don't know why I'm shining the light at it, but you can kind of see there the different settings and the run times. So 0.2 lumens for Moonlight Mode, which is actually another reason why I selected this light as the lowest setting on my other light. Is a little too bright sometimes. I'd like something for, in a maybe if you're in a darkened presentation, a movie theater, something of that nature, you might want a really low light that isn't going to distract other people. Or even if you're sitting in the passenger seat of someone's car and you want to check something real quick, it's nice rather than having a glaring, really bright, blinding light. So when the head is loosened, when the bezel is loosened, you can see that we're in Moonlight Mode. And then when I tighten it, we're at max mode, which is 205 lumens. That's the brightest one. So I'll turn it back down to the Moonlight Mode, and then if we were to program this mode, we'll turn the head 4 times, you'll tighten it 4 times, and then leave the head or the bezel in the position that you'd like to program. So I'm going to loosen it in this case as I want to reprogram the Moonlight Mode. So I'll turn it 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll turn it back to the second setting. And then when it flashes, it says that it's telling me that it's in that programming mode. So then you can click through the different settings, that being low, medium, high, or excuse me, max. And then it goes through the different, that would be max. I guess I had it right before. And then it'll step through the different flashing modes, SOS. And then if I hit it again, strobe, and then beacon. And then it'll start again, and then I'll put it back at Moonlight. Now when you choose the light that you want, let the light sit for several seconds, and it'll flash several times to let you know that it's storing that as that mode. And there it goes. So now whenever I have the head loosened, it's always going to be in this Moonlight Mode every time I hit the switch. It doesn't matter how you hit it, momentary, full on, it's always going to be there. And then when we tighten it, of course, we come right back to that max mode. And if I wanted to change the max mode, I would do the same thing. Turn the head bezel 4 times, and then leave it tightened, and then just step through different settings. And when I select the one that I want, just let the light sit in that setting, and it'll be stored. So this being the first time I've ever used this light, and instantly, just from what I've read online, being able to program it immediately without using the manual, tells me that it's fairly user-friendly. I do like that it has a protruding cap. That was one thing that with this purchase I struggled a bit in deciding whether or not I wanted the cap to be inset. You can have the recessed tail cap switch in the regular version of this light, or you can have it with this protruding switch. And I went with this one because I thought that when I needed a light quickly, it would be a little bit easier to depress when it wasn't recessed all the way within the back. The other thing that I chose this light for, I mentioned, was the Moonlight Mode, but also the programmability. So if you buy this very same light with the same brightness settings, but you choose the regular version, the non-tactical, you'll have that recessed reverse tail cap switch, but then you'll also have completely different lighting modes. It works a lot more similar to that traditional mode that I was telling you that a lot of the twisty cap lights will have, where you step through the different settings. So rather than on this one, how you can store two different memorized modes and then select them by turning the bezel one way or the other, with the regular version, you actually use the tail cap switch to step through the different modes. And then you have one way that you turn the head will always take it to, I believe, the brightest mode. So it works a little bit different. There was kind of a compromise between the two different lights, and I will absolutely come back with a full review and let you know how I feel about how this one works and if it really stands the test of time. One more thing I should note is that it is quite a bit thicker, not so much longer, but significantly wider than my older light, and I did have some reservations about that, but it's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make because I did want a brighter light, and my other choice, my other option, as many of you know, was to go with something like a pen light, where it was a 2 AAA design that still gives you very high lumens, but in a longer case. So it was kind of decided between, did I want something that was going to be wider in my pocket, or did I want something that was going to be sitting deeper and farther into my pocket with a longer design? And I went with the wider because I think that ultimately when it comes to walking, running, jumping, moving around, I think that this is going to disappear a little bit easier in my pocket than choosing a longer light. But having said that, I will still be purchasing one of the pen lights to try, and I've had a few recommendations of several different types of lights on my last contest update video, and I want to thank everyone who offered up a suggestion. I've been reading and researching all of them, so even if I don't decide to go with one of the lights that some of you have mentioned, please do know that I appreciate all the comments, and I'm going to be reviewing each one of those online as I decide what my next purchase will be. So this right here, the Foursevens Quark Tactical QTLC, will be my EDC light going forward for some time, and then I'll do a review and I'll let you know how it carries compared to my O light, and whether or not I'm going to keep on carrying it or maybe move on to a different design. That's the nice part about this hobby. There's so many options, so many choices, and so many alternatives. There's just, for every one light that one person likes, there's 1,000 other options that other people like. So we all get to kind of try out all this crazy gear and see what works for us and what doesn't, and then kind of narrow it down till we get that absolute perfect or near perfect choice that works very well just for us. So we'll see if the Quark Tactical ends up being that choice for me very soon. And one other thing that I will note is this is the QTLC version. The Quark Tactical QTL is the same light, except it has a pocket clip. Forgive me if there's some other detail regarding those model numbers that I'm missing, but as far as I know, that's the major difference, is that one has a clip and the other doesn't. I didn't like that the clip was non-removable on that other version, and I didn't like how much of the light would be sticking out of a pocket when I used it, so I simply decided to go for one that doesn't have it at all, and rather than use a clip, I will feed a split ring through here most likely and add a paracord lanyard, similar to what I have on the O-Light. So thank you for watching another very long video. I hope that gives some of you some insight. If some of you were on the fence about this light, or were just curious, or for whatever reason had some interest in it, I hope that helps you decide, or helps shed a little light, no pun intended, on whether or not this light might be right for you. And of course, like I mentioned, I'll come back with a full review and let you know exactly what I think about the light and its performance. So once again, thank you very much for watching. I will talk to all of you soon. Have a great day. Bye.